Check 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
Check 1 2.
Check 1 2. Oh, here we are. Yes. At long last, we're back after a 2-week absence. And I actually wasn't certain that I was going to be able to make it tonight's show. I was coming up Route 8 here in Connecticut, and there was an accident down at exit 12, which is some distance from our studio. And I'm sitting on the road for what seems to be an eternity. That was actually about 15, 20 minutes not moving, saying, am I going to make it? Do I have to cancel? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I did what any good Anglican would do. I said the Lord's Prayer several times, and after the third Our Father who art in heaven, amazingly, the traffic jam dissipated. And I was happy that there were no troopers on Route 8, so I zoomed up here and just got to the studio at the nick of time for today's online movie show. And we have a fun show tonight. We have, at the bottom of the hour, one of the most prolific underground filmmakers operating in the U.S., Antero Ali. He's based out of Berkeley, and he's made an extraordinary number of films in all genres, documentaries, narratives, features, short films, experimental films. We'll get to him in a little while, but right now we're going to be visiting with a fellow out of Boston named Eric Green, and he directed a movie called Life on the V, story of V66. And we're going to rub the magic jack and give Eric a call and learn more about him and his movie. If we can get the Bizet music off, please. Hello, Eric.
Hi, Phil.
That's me, Eric Green. Thank you.
How are you?
Okay, thanks for being on the online movie show tonight. Glad that you could take the time to speak with us.
No problem. We on right now?
We're on right now. We're live on PPRNradio.net, so please tell your friends to listen in. And if they can't get to listen to the live broadcast, we have a podcast that'll be online immediately after our show, starting around 8 o'clock.
Excellent. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Oh, it's good to have you here. You actually, you're no stranger to PPRN. You did Peter Pinho's show last year to talk about Life on the V.
that was a blast. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, yes. Well, Peter's still doing his show on Tuesday and Wednesday night here on PPRN at 7 p.m. But right now, let's talk about your film, Life on the V, the story of V66. For those of us who were not in the Boston area back in the 80s, what was V66?
V66 was a free, over-the-air, 24-hour music video TV channel that was in Massachusetts in the 1980s. It started in 1985, and it was right when the music video phenomenon was just blowing up, and people were so excited about Michael Jackson's Thriller and Madonna and all of these great music videos that were coming out. But the problem was that as everybody was demanding, I want my MTV, cable penetration was only about 30 to 40% in New England at that time. So even if you were excited about the music videos of that time, if it wasn't even being offered in your town, then you were kind of SOL. So here was a free channel that was on UHF TV. It was Channel 66 that was actually just, live and local and was playing music videos that were popular at that time, as well as local bands and local events. And they were, like I said, whereas MTV was pre-recorded, V66 was local and it was live. So this documentary is about this the life of this channel, which was only a year and a half, and what it did during that time, during its lifetime, and then the influence it's had since then.
Okay, we need to backpedal a bit because there might be people listening who aren't old enough to know what UHF is. What was a UHF TV channel?
So some people, I guess, have to Google it. Whereas everything is digital and cable now, you used to have your television set, and you had your VHF dial, which was channel 1 through 14, and then the VHF was the upper dial of, I believe it was 15 and up to 70, was it? So the upper end of that dial was channel 66. So it was a free channel, and it's funny we're sitting here talking about this because when we did interviews with fans, some of them actually said, oh, yeah, I had to get the rabbit ears on top of the house in just the right position to get the signal, or, oh, I had to, have the tinfoil on top of the antenna in order to get it. So it's funny explaining to people who just, are able to binge watch through, digital services and everything like that now, talking about, all of the efforts you had to make to just get the signal to be able to watch it in your town at that time.
Well, one thing I think is also interesting, too, because you say this was live TV, and I don't really think, maybe outside of some C-SPAN programming, there really isn't that much in the way of really live TV anymore, or even the news broadcasts that are on the air are, for the most part, a lot of them are pre-recorded. I just thought this morning, we're recording this show, it was a couple of days after Muhammad Ali's death, and I was looking through the channels, and both CBS, NBC, and ABC were all interviewing Layla Ali at the same time. And obviously they all claimed to be live broadcasts, and they obviously weren't because she couldn't be on 3 channels at once. Why did V66 decide to be a live broadcast as opposed to taking MTV's route and be pre-recorded?
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good point. Is even when something is quote unquote live today, it's actually like 5-second delay so that they can, censor any, curse words or anything on air. But yeah, what the station founder, John Garabedian, who already had a huge career in radio prior to starting coming to television with V66, he had a vision of trying to, take the music video television concept and really localize it just like radio had been, where they could talk about this is what's happening right now. This is what the traffic is like in Boston. This is what, is happening right now in Boston, and people calling in and requesting something in that moment. And he wanted to really have it so that, fans could call in, and just like a radio station, you could call in and request any songs in the last few years and they could play it. So it was rigged like that, where the VJ was on air hitting some buttons and they could take a live call and, request a video from the last 5 years. They could play it on the spot. So it wanted to be really, in the moment of this is what's happening right now. This is what's happening tonight. This is what the weather is like outside. These are the music events, that they're happening right now. So we really wanted to, make it a very community and viewer-driven experience of enjoying the music videos together and using the idea of television broadcasting as a way of bringing that music fan base together.
One of the things I loved about your film is that you have a surplus amount of the videos from back in the day. But looking at it, I know from a production standpoint, it must have been a pain in several parts of the body to get all the music clearance rights. How long did it take you to get the rights to all of the various songs that are featured in the movie?
The music that is featured in this, a majority of it fell within fair use. Which, I don't want to get too much into this, but we worked very closely with a lawyer who specializes in fair use. So it's kind of, if you're using something in news or documentary that's just showing just, a certain amount, like a few seconds, to make a point within that, news and documentary context about that, then, it can fall within the guidelines of fair use. There was a handful of artists we worked with to license it, but yeah, if it's kind of like in the way of like doing a documentary about this music channel, and if the example would be like with Live Aid, which was broadcast on the channel, us playing a 30-second promo that V66 had, which was a very fast-paced montage of Live Aid clips that fell within fair use, a under 20-second, promo and fast-paced montage of those that fell within that. But if we were to show like a 15, 20-minute performance from Live Aid, no, that would just simply be rebroadcasting of the song. So a lot of it just fell within fair use.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And also, if we have people who are listening who are aspiring filmmakers, by all means, Google the concept of fair use, because there are too many films out there that cannot get released because of improper music clearance rights, and also from filmmakers who are very highly respected as well. So which is quite a shocking aspect of filmmaking. But back to V66. Yeah. Another thing about the movie I loved is you were able to assemble, I think, almost everybody who was involved with the station back in the 80s. How were you able to track all these people down?
Yeah, one of the things, it spoke so much to me that this channel was only on for a year and a half, but we reached out to people, and like a total stranger calls you up or sends you an email saying, "Hi, you don't know me, but I'm a filmmaker and I want to make a movie about this place that you worked at, 20, 30 years ago." And everybody unanimously was like excited about it and said, "Oh, of course I want to be a part of it. I loved working there so much." So it said so much to me that people loved working there so much that after only a year and a half, they were all so excited that, "Oh, you're making a documentary? Of course I want in. Of course I want to be a part of this." So, it was definitely one of those great experiences that people took with them to, their later in their career of thinking back, yeah, that was so much fun. So yeah, we reached out. A lot of people were very approachable. A lot of them still work in broadcasting, but reached out to people. Ian O'Malley is on Q104 in New York, and David O'Leary is on Magic here in Boston, and John Garabedian, the station founder. You may know him from his long-running Open House Party radio program that he runs. So yeah, a lot of them were, because they were in the world of broadcasting, it was easy to, find out what stations they were at and reach out to them. But yeah, everybody was super excited about it. And in addition to just the on-air personalities, the VJs, we also really wanted to reach out to get the story from all sides. We talked to people who were interns. We talked to people who were in marketing, and people who were in the technical crew, and people who were editors. All different sides of it, and we wanted to really get all sides of the story and not just have it be, just what, the VJs thought of it or just what the executives thought of it. But yeah, we wanted to get all sides of it and all perspectives, and it was interesting hearing, so many people that was their first job post-college that they had there, and then getting the opportunities in a, non-union house where you could wear so many hats and get so many opportunities to do, to be an editor, to be a camera person, to be the on-air personality, to be a technical director so early in their career. And then that was experiences they were able to take with them to the next place they went on to be.
Well, I mean, V66 was such a great idea. Why didn't it work? Why did it fail after a little more than a year?
Well, it's interesting. When we first started this project, like a year or two earlier, I had been working at Fuse, which you may know is a music video cable channel now. And at the time I was there, they were only about a year, 2 years old at the time. And I was seeing firsthand that Fuse, after only starting like a year or two earlier, was already kind of going in the direction that it took MTV or VH1 like over a decade to get to, which was incorporating non-music programming in between their music programming. So I was seeing that firsthand, and it was just fascinating that now that was what a music channel had to do in the 2000s. And, everyone complains, oh, there's never any music video on MTV, but when they realized when they're getting bigger ratings with a rerun of Real World from 3 years ago than they are with just an hour of videos. So to answer the question, with V66, when it first started, it was exciting. It was new. It was, like we were saying just a few minutes ago with the UHF TV, it was, if you only had 12 channels on your TV set, the minute there was a 13th, that was exciting, no matter what it was. But the fact that it actually was music videos at a moment in time when it was the golden age of music videos, then it was even more exciting. So yeah, I mean, I think they had a great run. They really were finding their audience. But the problem with it was they realized they were having some difficulty creating, ad dollars out of the TV channel, because TV ratings are measured in 30 minutes or 60-minute increments. So the problem with ratings in terms of V66 was that people would watch a music video, and then the very next video comes on. If they don't like it, they change the channel and go to something else. So it was hard to retain a viewing audience for that 30-minute span as opposed to a 4-minute span or a 3-minute span of the music video. So it was kind of just hard for them to figure out how to financially make this viable. So what they did after a year is they tried to incorporate TV shows into the mix. They tried to do sort of a magazine type show, Boston Tonight. They tried to do a sports highlight show, Boston Sports Beat, and they also brought in syndication of American Bandstand and Soul Train, and some of these did okay, but they had already kind of established themselves as a music channel, and also they didn't exactly budget for TV programming either. So it became just financially difficult to make a go of this and make this something that could last a long time. So they looked at their options, and I think, John Garabedian, he had the ego to say, I'm going to start a TV channel and it's going to be just as good, if not better, than what MTV is doing nationally here in New England. But he had the humbleness to say, this is not my channel. This belongs to my investors, and I have to do what's best for them. So in the end, he had to look at the options, and Home Shopping Channel, which was just starting to try to get terrestrial distribution nationwide, they showed interest in buying this TV station from them, that they could just take over the TV signal and the Channel 66 airwaves in Massachusetts. So the price was, too good for them to say no to, and they were able to make sure all their investors were taken care of. And from the financial standpoint, that's a happy ending. But from the fan standpoint, people were really bummed and disappointed that suddenly this great music TV outlet where they could call in immediately and enjoy so many genres of music videos, and local bands were getting featured on there as well, some of which didn't even have labels, were able to be on there. This great thing that everybody was super, excited about suddenly had to come to an end abruptly after a year and a half. So it was, and you started to see over time that now MTV, VH1, Country Music Television, Hughes, all of them today, they incorporate non-music shows in between their music shows. So I think a lot of them have realized that it's really hard to retain that viewership and have ad dollars in a situation where it's just a bunch of music videos, one after another. But having said that, one of the messages at the end of the movie is that the idea of V66 might have been a thing of the past, the idea of a free over-the-air TV channel that plays nothing but music videos. But having said that, the music video in and of itself is very much alive and well, and that's it's still enjoyed all the time now. It's just that people go to YouTube or iTunes or Vivo to go see those videos, and when they watch them, then every other week it seems people are breaking records. It's Adele broke the records for one-day streams, and the next day it's Beyonce or whatever the case may be. But people still enjoy music videos. People still enjoy seeing a visual story set to a song. That has not gone anywhere, and I think that's something commendable. What V66, whether it whether you think it achieved something or failed in the process, you have to admire that they really went for it on a local, regional level.
I'm glad for the local regional aspect, because here on PPRN Radio, we have a program which is actually coming up after our show at 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights called Undiscovered, which is all about music acts that are not signed to major labels, and you can't hear them really anyplace else. And so we brought together a whole bunch of singers from different genres and bands from different genres, and you're able to hear it here as well. And that's, I think, also one of the main problems with mainstream media is that they don't want to know about anybody who's under the radar. So in that way, V66 was unusually progressive, and PPRN is trying to keep that alive as well. But Eric, your film, Life on the V, the story of V66, I was fortunate enough to program it at last year's New England Underground Film Festival. Where has your film been shown, and where can people see the film now?
Thank you, Phil. That was so much fun being a part of the New England Underground Film Festival last fall, and I would say filmmakers listening, I would definitely recommend the festival. It was a lot of fun to have it play in Connecticut at the University of Hartford. In addition to there, we had our world premiere at the Independent Film Festival of Boston, and that was a lot of fun. We've also screened at the Independent Television and Film Festival up in Vermont, where it won the Best Documentary. We were a part of Noise Pop in San Francisco, a big music festival that's starting to get into the film section as well. We're a part of Maryland International Film Festival, Hagerstown, Asbury Park Music and Film Festival, New England Underground. At this time, we're waiting to hear from a few festivals as well, but We're also available on DVD from MVD Entertainment Group, and in addition to DVD itself, it's also on Amazon Prime, Google Play, Fandor, Music Film Web, and a few other digital services as well. And we're going to be setting up some more screenings very soon. But yeah, you can learn all about it. The website is lifeonthev.com.
So, Eric, what are you going to do for an encore? What's your next project?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to top it. I have some screenplays I've been fine-tuning right now, and I have a 7-month-old at home that's been keeping me pretty busy. So, just trying to fine-tune the writing when I have time. But I would love to do another documentary. But I think I want to do another scripted film. One of my, heroes is Jonathan Demme, and he's totally known for, kind of having one foot in the documentary world and one foot in the narrative world, and kind of one influencing the next thing he does. So I'd love to have that kind of career where you're able to jump into a documentary and then jump right back into the scripted world right after that. So, not quite sure just yet, but having said that, this film is probably going to have a few more screenings this year as well.
Well, Jonathan Demme also directed what's probably the greatest concert film of all time, Stop Making Sense. So is that something you would like to try?
Oh, yeah, I would love that. It's funny, whenever you talk to music geeks or film geeks about the greatest concert film of all time, the conversation usually boils down to The Last Waltz or Stop Making Sense. It normally comes down to those two movies. And, I would love to do a concert film. I think, there's so many visual elements that come into that can play along with music. And when you get somebody like Jonathan Demme who's able to do great concert films of Talking Heads or, the Neil Young documentaries that he's done as well, I think that can be an exciting thing where you can, really bring use the cinematography and use the music and the colors and the stage show into a really great, theatrical experience for the audience.
Well, I mentioned that as I think it's the greatest because I'm a bit prejudiced. I did the public relations for the film when it was re-released in 1999, so it was, So hopefully I'll be able to do some work to help you if you should ever go that way. But, Eric, we're out of time at the moment, so I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us on the Online Movie Show tonight. And again, where can people find the movie online?
Oh, yeah. Online, it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Google Play, it's on Fandor, and it's also available on DVD. And I just want to say, Phil, you've been a really strong supporter. You reviewed us on Film Threat, and there's a quote from your review that's on the back of our DVD case. So you've been a really good friend to us, and we really appreciate it.
Hey, it's a great film, and I'm only calling it like I see it. Eric Green, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks a lot, Phil.
Okay,
it's
take
a
care.
blast.
All right, we're going to be going to a commercial break right now. Give us about 5 minutes, and we'll be back with Antero Ali. Okay. Hey, Jay. Hey, what's up? We're supposed to be there the 13th.
Hi there, and if you need any kind of work done to your car, you can try DeSilva's Auto Body, located in Naugatuck at 275 Rubber Avenue. Serving the Naugatuck Valley community with the highest quality of craftsmanship for 25 years, we pride ourselves in delivering on our promise of extraordinary customer service and product satisfaction. We have recently expanded our business with in-house experts and industry gold standard equipment. So once again, give us a call at DeSilva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967. That's 203-729-5967, located in Naugatuck on Rubber Avenue. Once again, the Silva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967.
Did you just hear how bad that sounded? Well, you won't get that sound at Hat City Music Productions, located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. CEO Chris Littman takes your music to the next level. If you're tired of those basement recordings, those people that you pay too much money for and have you get out within a half hour, well, you won't have that problem. Hat City Music Productions, once again located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. Go check out Hat City Music Productions. You won't be disappointed. Tell them PPRN sent you. Aw, fuck! Aw, fuck! Aw, fuck!
Hey, dude, where did you get this freaking stellar water pipe?
At Shockinaw in Waterbury.
Where?
Shockinaw Smoke Shop in Waterbury. Dude, don't tell me you haven't been there.
I don't know.
Listen, you gotta go there. Shockinaw is way different from those crappy mall stores. They have some sick-ass glass pipes from crazy-ass glass blowers. And get this, they even have a community art gallery where they host drum circles, poetry jams, and they do music too.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they have everything down there, even medical grade.
Dude, I'm down. Where is it?
I told you, it's in Waterbury on Huntington Avenue. Just get off exit 36 from Route 8. Here, I've been following them on Instagram for a while, Shockinaw Smoke Shop. Take a look at this picture.
Wow, man, that rig is ill.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they're always posting new shit.
Dude, as soon as I get my car back, I'm heading to Shock and Awe.
Hey Matt, we need to write a commercial for Green Goddess Supply.
Okay, will it promote our grinders, bats, or the hand-carved dugouts?
Well, our one-hitters and our dugouts are already super popular.
Yeah, people can definitely see the quality difference.
Right, so we probably don't need to focus on those. But our premium grinder's brand new, so why don't we go with that?
Cool. What features should we hit on?
Well, it's a kick-ass grinder and getting rave reviews already, so we could use one of the testimonials saying it's the best grinder they've ever used.
Nah, that's cheesy. Let's stick to the features.
All right. So the key is really the sharp teeth.
And the holes?
And the number and the size of the holes.
Yeah, they let the herb fall through without getting jammed up in the chamber.
Right, because nobody likes the weed traffic jam going on.
There's also a Teflon ring that helps the lid slide easily.
And the super strong magnet in the lid.
And the pollen catcher.
Ugh, we're never going to get through all this in 60 seconds.
Well, just ask them to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or visit our website at www.greengoddesssupply.com.
Hi, I'm Phil Hall, and I have a question for you. Are you in need of professional video production service? If you are, I'd like to recommend my friends over at Mass Video Productions. They're based in Quincy, Massachusetts, but they do business all over the United States, and they do a great job. They specialize in corporate videos, whether it's communications from your CEO, employment recruitment, training videos for new employees. They can also help you if you need a video for television or an internet commercial. Maybe you need a music video for your band, or you want a video for a special event in your life. I'm not just saying this reading from a script. I use Mass Video Productions for my Business Superstar website, and I have been very, very impressed by the high quality of their production. If you don't believe me, look it up online. Go to massvidpro.com or call 617-319-3434. Again, massvidpro.com or 617-319-3434. And tell them Phil Hall sent you.
Are you located in the Middlebury area?
Or the Waterbury area?
Check out International Wine and Liquor at 750 Straits Turnpike, located next to the subway.
Or JT Wine and Liquor at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
Both have a wide variety of beer, craft beer, scotches, bourbon, vodka, cognac, and rum.
And a large selection of wines.
Once again, if you're located in the Middlebury area, check out International Wine and Liquor, 750 Straits Turnpike, next to the subway.
Or if you're in the Waterbury area, check out JT Wine and Liquors at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
And let them know that PPRN sent you.
Oh, man. Can't take this shit no more. Where the fuck my headphones at? Here they go. Yeah. Ain't nothing like being able to shut that fucking shit up with my Soul Electronic headphones. Yeah. Now this is peaceful. Soul Electronics. Headphones inspired by Ludacris. SoulElectronics.com. Get your pair today.
Are you located in the Middlebury area?
Or the Waterbury area?
Check out International Wine and Liquor at 750 Straits Turnpike, located next to the subway.
Or JT Wine and Liquor at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
Both have a wide variety of beer, craft beer, scotches, bourbon, vodka, cognac, and rum.
And a large selection of wines.
Once again, if you're located in the Middlebury area, check out International Wine and Liquor, 750 Straits Turnpike, next to the subway.
Or if you're in the Waterbury area, check out JT Wine and Liquors at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
And let them know that PPRN sent you.
Hello, Terali. You're on the online movie show with Phil Hall, and I'm Phil Hall, so thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Oh, absolutely, Phil. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. You know, Antero, I realize it's been 20 years since I first learned about you. I was writing for Wired magazine at the time, and my editor sent me a video of a film called The Drive Time, which I had never heard of. And this is one of the very few films that I actually, when I saw for the first time, I came away completely thunderstruck. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was such a profound and original and invigorating film. And looking back at the film 20 years later, I can't get over how prescient it is, because you made this film at the dawn of the internet age, and you basically predicted almost everything that was going to be happening when the world went online, both in a good and a bad way. When you made this film back in 95, I think is when you shot it, did you realize this is where it was going to be, or were you just saying, I'll come up with this wacky dystopian film, and who knows?
What happened, I was recovering from an opium addiction in the summer of 94, and my friend Rob Bresney, who's an astrology columnist and a poet and a musician, he's kind of a rock star in his own right, he came up with this idea called the drive time and explained it to me as this overlay between dream time and daytime realities, a kind of this vast corridor of images linking daytime and dream time. And the place that I was in, kicking my opium habit, the poppy grew in my backyard, and I was bored over the summer of 94 over there in Port Townsend, a little town in the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. And it really struck me as something I could relate with, and I just started scripting a story that came sort of out of the blue, interacting with Rob Bresney's concept of the drive time, and in a way writing a love letter to Seattle. Seattle, I had lived there for about 7 years previous to that. And a lot of great things happened in Seattle. I had published and edited a quarterly poetry quarterly magazine called Talking Raven. So anyway, a lot of different confluences came into play into the mix that finally came out as the drive time.
What I love about the drive time, looking back at it now, that you have situations where people are planting hoaxes online. The government is manipulating video. There's do-it-yourself media. The hero of the film is a videographer who takes footage that's supposed to be censored and runs off with it. Also trivializing law enforcement in a way, too, that, I mean, back then there was obviously the show Cops, but it seems to have gotten more out of hand and more ridiculous as time has gone by. When you look back at the film, what are your feelings about it?
It's hard to say. It was a long time ago. I just remember having not just a lot of fun writing it and producing it and, putting it together, but also it was a real turning point in my personal life. I had just ended a 7-year relationship at that time, and I was really embarking on a whole new era of actually relocating to Berkeley, California, where I spent the next 19 years in pretty much a nonstop stream of film production. In fact, just 6 months ago, I left Berkeley. I'm now living in Portland, Oregon, and I've pretty much completed my 23-year film production era. I'm now returning to my roots in experimental theater.
Oh dear! So the new movie Out of the Woods is your last film, or is it the last film to date?
Probably both. Yeah, that was completed in the summer of 2015, about a year ago. It actually had its world premiere here in Portland, and then and it had a San Francisco premiere shortly after that. But yeah, I feel done. I've done quite a bit of work, as you know. You've been reviewing most, I think, maybe all my films, and again, so grateful for your presence and your input. So many of your reviews have been posted here and there, and have really done quite a bit to magnetize audiences and get my name known amongst the underground film community. So thank you very much, Phil Hall.
Oh, it's my pleasure. But who is the audience for your films? And for those who don't know your work, how many films have you made over the past years?
I was just recently counting. Since '93, I can count 15 or 16 feature lengths and maybe a couple dozen short works. My films have rare screenings on the West Coast, usually 1 or 2 nights in a row, oftentimes in the Bay Area, sometimes L.A., oftentimes in Portland, and sometimes in Seattle, and occasionally in Los Angeles. I also sell my films on DVD through my website at verticalpool.com, and also through my publisher, the Original Falcon Press. I'm also a book author, and they have decided to distribute my films on DVD as well.
One of the things I love about your films is you deal with subjects as profound as alienation, problems of interpersonal communication, loss of faith, loss of self-identity. But your movies aren't the least bit boring or heavy. How do you pull that off?
A little sense of humor goes a long way, I guess. My films are primarily veiled autobiographies, all of them in one way or another. Some were more obviously unveiled and more obviously reflections of what I'm doing in my life at that particular time. And I just have not been able to find a way to communicate the things that happen to me and what I see and feel and the things that go on in my life without laughing at myself at the same time. Otherwise, it's just kind of ends up in this kind of grim morass of self-pity, narcissism, or worse yet.
Well, also, a lot of the films you have also touch on aspects of, I don't know if you'd want to call it faith or religion or spirituality or all of the above, but it's done with such originality. It's not condescending to the mainstream religions, but it also opens people's eyes in both a good and bad way to, for lack of a better word, the shamanistic concept of spirituality. What is it about the subject that fascinates you?
Which one? There's shamanism, there's spirituality, there's faith.
Obviously, I guess all of the above is not a proper answer, but a film like Tragos, for example, which was about a religious cult, what was the inspiration for that particular project?
Tragos is a story of, it takes place slightly in the near future in underground San Francisco, of this urban cult of techno-pagans who practice their religious rites in virtual reality through a particular VR device. And in their practice, one of the individuals uses the VR device as a suicide machine, and their consciousness remains in virtual reality while they leave a corpse behind on a cot for the rest of the tribe to discover. And then the police and the law come in, and there's this complication there. What I was really interested in was basically I wanted to tell a story of a modern tragedy, and I wanted to use the story of this cult immersing in virtual reality to practice their religious rituals during politically oppressive times, as a way to reflect how internet addiction, over media saturation, has somehow acted as a bit of a wet blanket to the poetic imagination that I think that there's been this kind of imagination lobotomy occurring on a mass collective level that I see as a modern tragedy, the loss of imagination. I see imagination, the faculty of imagination, is a little bit like the canary in the coal mine, in that loss of imagination or even death of imagination precedes loss and death of soul. To me, they're intimately interconnected. Without imagination, it's hard to maintain the life of a soul, as far as I'm concerned. And therein we have the link to faith and spirituality and shamanism, if you will, through this notion of insurrection of the imagination, which is pretty much my political cause.
Well, one of the films you did with a faith-based, for lack of a better word, angle to it would have been the film Crux, which is one of my favorite films of yours. And that's also one of your nonfiction films. You haven't done a great many of the nonfiction films, though I love when you go into that genre. Do you want to talk about Crux and about nonfiction filmmaking itself versus making narrative films?
Well, it's funny because with me, almost everything I do is a hybrid of narrative fiction and documentary. In some ways, they're all docufictions. And so, for example, with Crux, some might call it a documentary, but you see, I was documenting a group of individuals who were trained by myself. So this is, no longer journalism. I trained these individuals by myself, and they entered a ritual process inspired by a perpetual asking of the same question, which was, what am I living for, and where am I crucified to the crux of my existence? And these questions were given somatic and theatrical exploration and expression through a medium of what I call paratheater. Paratheater is a coin termed by the late Polish theater genius Jerzy Grotowski back in the mid-1970s. And since 1977, I've been developing my own medium of paratheater, which combines methods of physical theater, of dance, of vocalization, and also a bit of zazen meditation in the mix as well. And so anyway, Crux was a video document of a group of 7 individuals who were undergoing this paratheater training to discover what it was that they were living for, as opposed to what they thought they were living for. So we went into places that was deeper than what they were assuming or what they thought they should be living for. We went down to some core essence level experiences. Oh, this is what I'm living for. And then discovering, wow, I don't know if I can live with that. So there's some pretty hard-hitting revelations that came about in that project. With some people discover that they live just for sensation alone, and then they have a lament or a kind of a grievance about that until they can find something more exciting to live for.
Well, tell me about the new film, Out of the Woods. What is this film all about?
Oh, Out of the Woods. Out of the Woods is a story about this young boy who wanders into the woods in Northern California and gets lost for 3 days and 3 nights. And during his adventure, he encounters a spirit, a kind of a tree spirit is the way I think he would experience it. But it becomes like an imaginary friend. And so it's a story between this young boy and imaginary friend. And the young boy grows up, and the imaginary friend visits him in his dreams, and the young boy has an adventure in the woods where he undergoes an accident, a kind of a near-death experience, actually, and comes out of it with amnesia and a peculiar talent for hearing the thoughts of others. And one thing led to another, and he finds himself in Reno, Nevada. Again, he's amnesiac. He doesn't know who he is, but he begins to discover who he is bit by the people he meets. By hearing their thoughts about him, he starts piecing together an identity. And then in Reno, Nevada, he's hired as a professional mind reader. And then it pretty much spins out from there into one kind of catastrophe into another.
Well, also the artwork for Out of the Woods that we used on our Facebook page features your wife Sylvie, who does the scores for your films and appears in them. You two have worked together for a very, very long time. What's the secret of combining your real life with your film lives?
The secret. Good luck with that. No. She and I have been collaborating artistically since 1989, and we became a couple, romantically involved in 95, and so we've been a couple for over 20 years. And she's pretty much contributed the lion's share of the soundtrack to pretty much all my films, and she's also acted in maybe half of them, and oftentimes appearing as some kind of otherworldly creature or entity, because that's sort of how I think her presence translates best on screen.
It does. I remember in Book of Jane, she played a busker with an accordion. She had a musical number, which was very, very entertaining. Yeah.
She's a very talented singer, and she plays accordion and piano and all kinds of other instruments. And in fact, we're actually starting to collaborate more musically. Since I'm leaving film behind, we're now entering a more specifically a musical collaboration, and then that will dovetail into the creation of an experimental theater piece that I'm scripting.
I'm surprised to hear this. Well, maybe not surprised, because obviously you've been doing films for such a long period of time. But why did you decide now to shift gears, as well as shifting locations and going to Portland to concentrate on theater?
Well, that's a very good question. Back in 1996, when I was living in Seattle and I decided to move to the Bay Area, my reason for moving to the Bay Area was to be closer to a deeper talent pool. I was really hungry to work with individuals as experienced and skilled and talented as myself, and more so especially. And I wanted to embark on a nonstop train wreck of film production, meaning one film after another after another. That's the only thing I knew before me of what I had as my future. So that was the big dream, and I had no clue or idea of how that would come about or if it was ever going to happen. And after 19 years, I looked back and I said, well, that dream that I set forth, not only did it completely fulfill itself, but it fulfilled itself beyond my wildest expectations. But in essence, that dream was over. And I was in need of a change of scenery to support a new dream, basically. And this is sort of how I've rolled, how I've made my main decisions in life. I guess my big decisions mostly have just been following dreams and trying to find the appropriate setting, the right city or the right region that might be the most conducive for supporting the dream that I'm following. And this is the same here. This is something I've done for as long as I remember. Even, since I left the nest back at the age of 17, I was basically just following a dream.
For those people who will be listening to this show and may not be familiar with your work and want to go to verticalpool.com to check it out, what are your, if not your favorite films, then what would be the best films to introduce neophytes to your output?
That's a good question. I'm thinking my most recent films may be my most accessible. That's just my own subjective opinion. So I would say Out of the Woods, the Book of Jane, probably might be a good place to start. Under a Shipwreck Moon, a lot of people apparently find that to be their favorite. And maybe my most personal film, which is called The Invisible Forest, probably my most obviously kind of autobiographical, because I actually play the lead. The only film I play lead in is The Invisible Forest. And I play a theater director who trains these actors, who brings brings these actors out into the forest for this paratheatrical experiment that goes awry. So that might be a good place to start too. But if you just go to verticalpool.com and you find the cinema link, there's all kinds of descriptions and trailers and pictures that people can mull over and pretty much go from there.
Well, what films inspire you, and what films do you watch just for pure entertainment's sake?
Oh, for entertainment, currently I'm binge watching Ray Donovan, and it's a lovely kind of. It's just really great trash film. It's the setting is a really seedy, current, contemporary Los Angeles kind of situation with some really great characters. So that's sort of what's current, and sometimes I'll dip into something like Penny Dreadful. The wife and I like occasionally like these more exaggerated, melodramatic, gothic kinds of things for pure entertainment. But for appreciation of something that is truly inspiring to me, I go to individuals like Andrei Tarkovsky. Any of his films completely destroy me. I mean, there were many times where I've seen his film and I just say to myself, why bother? Why even make films? He's already made the film that I've always wanted to make. But I would cite him as my favorite filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've worked in Berkeley, you said, for 19 years. What is the Berkeley area and the Bay Area as a whole like for independent film? Is this a great place for aspiring filmmakers or even established filmmakers to set up production and start shooting?
I can only speak for what I would call the underground filmmaking community and maybe a little bit of the indie filmmaking community. And over the last 10 years, I think it's just gotten worse and worse. And part of the reason for that is that the venues that have been in the past available for screening our work so people can come watch what we've made, and this is a big part of why people make films is to be have them seen. Well, these venues have disappeared, or they have been bought out by the tech industry people or whatever, and so there's been kind of a sad story happening there in the Bay Area, because I really love the place. I've lived there before. I lived there all throughout the 70s, and that was a very different place back then. And I came back in 96, and I thought, okay, maybe there's some kind of resurgence or renaissance there. And I think it did start a little bit in the late 90s and the early aughts. But then that whole dot-com tech boom kind of thing came in, and the real estate, got jacked up, and more and more of the artists, just couldn't afford to live there. And so I would say not so much. I mean, the individuals who want to explore underground and indie filmmaking, try Portland, Oregon.
Really? Is Portland has that kind of a vibrant filmmaking scene?
Oh, very much so. And not only that, but they have very receptive theaters and venues. For example, even though I've stopped making films, I'm going to continue showing my films here. Thanks to the Clinton Street Theater. It's a 200-seat theater with a huge screen, great sound system.
Is that Dennis
Nybeck's? They've been very supportive and receptive in showing my films there. And then there are other venues and cinemas and art houses here that avail themselves to underground filmmakers and indie filmmakers. So there's a much more vibrant underground art, film, theater, music, and dance scene here than, as far as I can see, than what I knew in the Bay Area over the last 10 years, which has just started to wither away.
You mentioned
Clinton. I know that's kind of a strong thing to say, but that's kind of how it looked to me.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. You mentioned Clinton Street Theater. Is that Dennis Nybeck's theater?
Yeah, Dennis does screen there, but he doesn't run the place. It's run now by Lenny Joe and Roger Lee, and they've been the managers there for, I think, 4, maybe 5 years.
I don't know if you know Dennis Nybeck. Actually, he's an old dear friend of mine, and when he was living in New York, I did work for him when he had the Lighthouse Cinema on the Lower East Side.
Oh yeah, no, we've met briefly. Dennis goes way back. I mean, I know what he does, and it's just wonderful. He tours the world with his films, and I think he is stationed here in Portland, and he he screens quite a bit up in Seattle as well.
Excellent. If you see him, please send him my regards. And Antero,
I will.
We've come to the end of our conversation. I want to thank you again for taking the time to share your work and your insight with us. And again, people can find you at verticalpool.com.
Yep, vertical pool like swimming pool.
Okay.
And for those people who are interested in following up on my new adventures in experimental theater, go to paratheatrical, one word, paratheatrical.com.
Excellent. And Tarolo, thank you so much. Give my best to Sylvie as well.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Okay, thanks, Antero.
Bye.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our online movie show. I just want to give you folks a preview of what else is happening here on PPRN Radio. Now, you stay tuned to this station because 8 o'clock we have Undiscovered, and that's a great show. We mentioned that earlier in the broadcast. This is a program where we celebrate the best of under-the-radar music from all different genres, rock, pop, hip-hop, metal, jazz, you name it, we've got it. These are the performers you can't hear. Oh, yeah, you might be able to hear that. That's Peter Pinho in the background. He's the host of Undiscovered, and you'll be able to hear this great music coming up at 8 o'clock. Peter's going to be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with his show, and he's got some great music, too. There's a rock duo named Diplopotamus who's going to be here. Singer-songwriter Scott Sebastian is coming in. Comedian Andrew Manning is going to be on the show, and Joe Minetti, who is an actor who is known for taking a lot of photos without his shirt on. He'll be here. We'll see what kind of distraction he creates. On the show on Wednesday, Peter is back again at 7 p.m. Adhay Sampath is going to be a guest. He's a singer-songwriter. An old friend of PPRN, Rob Fullerton, is going to be in the studio as well, and one of the funniest men we've come across here in New England, Dave Sheehan, is going to be in the studio. Definitely check Dave Sheehan out if you're into the comedy club scene. And making her PPRN debut is a comedian, Noel Gray. So that's going to be Wednesday, 7 p.m. Friday at 4 p.m. is Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine, which is one of the most unique programs you will ever hear, and Jim is one of the most unique personalities. He's also an old friend of mine, and just listen. I'm not even going to tell you what the show's about. Just 4 p.m., you come in, you listen, and trust me, you will be forever warped in a good way. Saturday here on PPRN, starting at 12 noon and going till whenever, is Mixtape Saturdays, and this is the ultimate Saturday party show. Just put it on pprnradio.net. Keep it on. We have mixtapes from the best DJs all over the U.S., innovative, invigorating. Could just run out of words describing it. Just listen to it. It's nonstop fun. And again, that starts at 12. And we'll start the week on Sunday at 10 a.m. Those three wacky guys are talking sports from 10 to 1. So if you like sports, surf, funny side up, that's the program for you. So that's it here for PPRNradio.net. I'm Phil Hall. I won't be back next week, actually, with this show. We're going to be doing, the PPRN Undiscovered is doing an open mic from the Performance Hub in Torrington, Connecticut. In fact, while we were doing the first segment, we just got a confirmation call from Jay Roberts, who runs Performance Hub. So shout out to Jay. Good guy up there. We'll be back on June 20. We're going to be doing a program about gay cinema, because this is Gay Pride Month. And June 27th, we'll be back again the following Monday, talking about 70s porn, because we can. I'm Phil Hall. This is the Online Movie Show, so stay tuned. Undiscovered is coming up right now.